Data within this film comes from open access materials, online threads, police briefings, and reputable news outlets. The specific file explored tonight first appeared on the internet via the user Matt Black. Detectives have yet to validate its authenticity. Every member of the Guthrie clan, including their partners and siblings, was exonerated by Sheriff Chris Nanos on February 16, 2026. Authorities haven't labeled Dominic Evans a person of interest, and he has flatly rejected any link to these events. This footage makes no formal claims of guilt toward anyone mentioned. Everyone involved is considered blameless unless proven otherwise. We created this for educational and investigative purposes only. A piece of the official record was just salvaged from the chaos. Neither cops nor reporters found it. A digital sleuth did after 67 days on the trail. It is a court filing dated prior to Nancy Guthrie vanishing. Now, everyone in this circle is wondering if the police have even glanced at it. We will analyze every word of that filing with the care it deserves. 67 days. You folks don't need me to explain that timeline. You have lived it. You feel the weight. Imagine 67 days of dead air regarding an 84-year-old lady who needs meds, who uses a heart device and was snatched from her bed at night. And still, no trace, no proof of life, and not a single confirmed sighting by anyone. The Guthries feel every second of those 67 days, and you have stayed right here with them. This constant group focus has birthed something the big news networks usually ignore: an independent branch of detective work, open-sourced, non-hierarchical, and remarkably precise, often beating the official press to major updates. These people weren't just watching from the sidelines. They charted every inch. Users drafted intricate maps of the Catalina foothills estate, focusing on garage entries, camera blind spots, and viewpoints from the road. They scrutinized the FBI's photos of the masked suspect, measuring him against known dimensions found in real estate photos of the house. They mapped out the ransom demands, several messages, and 2 cutoff points, both expiring by February 9th without a word. Their public timelines were so thorough that they often contained facts the sheriff's department had not even announced yet. Then, consider the January 11th lead. Remember this date. It is crucial to understanding the new filing. When Savannah Guthrie and her family spoke out in March, over 6 weeks since Nancy went missing, they pleaded for help regarding 3 particular windows of time: January 31st, February 1st, and January 11th. Their Instagram post noted, "Someone out there might hold a clue they think is totally trivial." Digital sleuths were already circling January 11th, well before the web-based detectives moved in prior to any official family statement. This did not happen by chance. It is the result of relentless and meticulous analysis of public records. Such an environment allowed today's specific breakthrough to finally come to light. Forget tabloids or clickbait hunters. This came from a researcher digging deep into the accessible legal archives and land titles tied to this matter. These are the local files open to anyone that do not need any unique or restricted clearance because they are public domain, revealing a detail that went unnoticed for far too long. For those following this investigation since day one, you realize we hold ourselves to a single, unwavering benchmark: confirmed facts, proven origins, and a careful legal perspective regarding everyone involved. Guesses are not allowed. Our job is recording reality and addressing the issues the proof brings up. The findings from the web community provoke a vital inquiry that demands a genuine response. If you are new here, join us immediately because the upcoming updates will break rapidly and you cannot afford to fall behind. Via X, the site, once called Twitter, a user known as @MattBlackInc has provided exceptionally disciplined coverage of this whole search. From the start, they have stayed engaged over these 67 days, pulling land files, judicial paperwork, and accessible law filings regarding those loosely associated with this drama. The shared material from Matt Black was a file titled Property Records, followed by the official terminology for a specialized, durable power of attorney. This specific file identifies what the law calls a principal. That is the person who legally authorizes this type of representative mandate, the one handing over the power for another party to represent them. This file identifies exactly who that individual is and precisely when they signed off on it. We will discuss the timing shortly, so stay tuned. Everyone must grasp one thing first. Being correct is far more important than being fast. When dealing with specific people who have already seen their names cleared, our wording must be incredibly exact. This file surfaced on social platforms and lacks official validation from the Pima County Sheriff's Office, the Federal Bureau, or judicial officials. It seems to stem from standard Open Land Registry archives. The heading used in that upload actually aligns with the way these legal authorizations are filed locally when they involve buying or selling land. Such records become public once submitted for home sales. Yet this specific copy moving around the internet remains unconfirmed. First, view it that way, though that doesn't lessen the importance of the public's inquiry, as the core issue doesn't rely on the file being proven genuine to be valid. It just needs the police to state if they have looked into what looks like a court document surfaced during a money trail probe linked to a $6 million extortion plot. People online reacted instantly to the update. That screenshot spread like wildfire through the digital sleuth circles following this mystery since February. The resulting debate wasn't focused on pointing fingers or casting blame. It centered strictly on the technicalities. Are the authorities looking into this? Forget motive or guilt for a second. Have the police actually scrutinized this specific filing? Plus, if they did, what was the outcome? Right now, 0 agencies, neither the local sheriff's department nor the Federal Bureau of Investigation, have said a word. Major news organizations haven't really touched the details yet. Furthermore, anyone tied to those listed in the paperwork is staying silent. This show explores the massive disconnect between what's been dug up online and the official silence. Prior to interpreting the implications, we must first define what this record actually represents. Forget the dry, technical jargon usually found in law books. It's about why this matters to the pros and hobbyists hunting for clues in this specific puzzle. Essentially, a power of attorney is a signed agreement where one individual, the primary party, hands over to someone else, designated as their representative, the right to handle their business affairs. The original owner isn't giving up their property or rights. No wealth is actually changing hands here. Instead, they're just greenlighting a second party to call the shots, ink deals, or manage accounts as outlined within the specific rules of the contract. The primary keeps their status while the proxy serves as their official stand-in. That's the basic gist. However, the labels special and durable on this particular form add very specific layers of meaning. Grasping those two terms is key to seeing why internet detectives found this so suspicious. Labeling it durable ensures that the permission remains active, even if the person who signed it becomes unable to think or speak for themselves. This represents a major pivot from the typical version, which shuts down instantly if the signer loses consciousness or their mind fails, preventing them from making calls, talking straight, or keeping an eye on their own interests. A durable version stays valid despite those extreme circumstances. Whether they're stuck in a medical ward or simply lack the capacity to check if their helper is doing the right thing. The person in charge keeps their power, no matter what. That's a pretty big deal, legally speaking. Nobody chooses this specific setup unless they're worried the primary person won't be around or able to watch their own back. That's what it was designed for. That is its whole purpose. The durable tag keeps things moving even when the main player is totally out of the picture. Then there's the special part, a detail most internet sleuths missed that we really need to clarify. According to statutes in Arizona and across the United States, this specific type of arrangement, also known as a restricted mandate, only allows someone to act on very particular tasks or business items clearly listed in the fine print. Consider it the inverted version of a broad power of attorney, which hands over massive control over finances, healthcare, and court matters all at once. A limited, durable power of attorney defines its exact boundaries. The representative never gains total control of the signer's life. Their permission only extends to what is typed on that paper, period. That is the reason why several observers, including legal experts and many web sleuths, have pushed back against the more intense descriptions of what this filing actually implies. Should the specific, durable power of attorney involved be for a single designated land deal, One house closing where someone required a proxy to sign on their behalf. Then from a legal perspective, it is a tool frequently utilized in countless typical real estate deals throughout the nation on a yearly basis. Land lawyers will confirm that these documents are completely standard during closings. Perhaps a person is traveling, or someone is busy and they need their spouse or partner to sign at the table for them. This specific document handles that. It is typical. It is not inherently suspicious. That viewpoint is grounded. It is factually correct. This episode will treat it fairly since truth is the only benchmark in a case where the named parties were cleared. Yet there is a secondary aspect to the lasting nature of this file, and it is what triggers the procedural mystery of this show. Any lasting power of attorney is built to function precisely when the signer cannot use their own logic or supervision. Typically, you do not need that capability for a standard home sale. For an ordinary closing, a simple, non-lasting document is plenty. It manages the deal and then becomes void. The lasting label is included when the person preparing it foresees a situation where the signer might be gone or incapacitated for an indefinite time. When you fuse those two pieces, the narrow range and the long-term survival, you create a tool for specific tasks that remains active even when the owner loses their oversight. Both legal professionals and digital investigators have flagged that combination as the reason this file deserves a look. Not a charge, but a look. In a mystery involving a $6 million Bitcoin ransom requiring expert insight into the Guthrie family's assets, where financial gain has been labeled by police and pros as the probable motive. In such a scenario, any legal filing affecting the money or land of those tied to the victim recorded just before she vanished is a paper that basic detective work would include in a forensic audit. That is just the investigative norm. It is not about doubt of any person. It is a norm. To grasp why the internet sleuths reacted to this file the way they did, you must see the financial setup of this case. And for those following this program, you know that setup has been a central part of the story from the very start. Nancy Guthrie's, a residence within Tucson's Catalina Foothills district, is estimated to be worth around $1 million. This is a major financial holding. Tucked away in a wealthy Tucson enclave, this property has been a staple for the Guthrie kin for decades. Her offspring, Savannah Guthrie, has held a lead role on the Today Show since 2012, a high-profile gig with a massive paycheck that puts her in a tax bracket. Quite obvious to anyone who spends 5 minutes looking into her family background. This wasn't some haphazardly chosen extortion amount. News reports verified by several outlets indicate the kidnappers demanded $6 million in cryptocurrency. That specific total wasn't pulled out of thin air. Asking for $6 million shows the perpetrator had inside knowledge of exactly what this family could afford. Such a sum implies they were fully aware of Savannah Guthrie's identity, her yearly earnings, and the kind of cash a family with her status could scramble to find during an emergency. Federal agents validated the specifics of the demand letters. Several messages set 2 firm cutoff dates that went by without payment through February 9th. The extortionists sent their communications in timed stages. This repeated pressure tactic isn't the work of some frantic, messy amateur. It shows a person who knows how high-stakes bargaining works, someone who gave the family breathing room to gather funds while controlling the clock. Federal investigators took the lead on this case almost immediately, since abductions involving monetary demands fall under national legal authority. The agency's skill in tracking illicit money, following blockchain trails and auditing accounts, is vital for this investigation. Back entrances to Nancy's residence were found standing wide open. Savannah spoke about this during her March sit-down with Hoda on NBC. Her mobile device and handbag were still sitting inside the house. From a profiling standpoint, these facts rule out a random theft that went south. The intruder clearly wanted the woman, not the valuables inside. They didn't take the phone. They didn't take the cash. Only Nancy was grabbed. Profilers and retired cops analyzing the situation in the media have pointed out this glaring detail. The stain, specifically the evidence found by the doorstep of her home, was scientifically linked to her through laboratory genetic analysis. Federal techs had to dig into Google's server infrastructure to pull the video files since. Nancy hadn't renewed the monthly recording plan for her front door security system. Caught a disguised person roughly 5'9" in a dark 25-liter hiking pack carrying a sidearm. This suspect prowled the grounds with a confidence suggesting they had scoped the place out before. The way they walked up, the specific moves made at the entryway, and the deliberate disabling of the camera at 1:47 in the morning. This wasn't some random person wandering onto the lot. That January 11th timeline is still a majorly overlooked detail in this whole criminal case. During their March press release, the Guthrie family made a point of mentioning it. The public was urged to recall the night of January 11th, exactly 21 days prior to Nancy's abduction. Police have yet to disclose the significance of what occurred on January 11th. Despite bringing it up, the family offered no further details. It remains a glaring void in the chronological order of events. We are looking at the underlying economic and behavioral framework of a mystery where Internet sleuths have begun scrutinizing a specific court filing concerning the assets and holdings of a person tied to the home shortly before Nancy Guthrie vanished. It isn't about whether this paper proves any guilt. The real issue is if investigators vetted it, given the monetary context here. While it is a basic part of any probe, officials haven't addressed it openly. Let us look at the documented facts of the matter. Since the 1st of February, the Pima County Sheriff's Department has headed the inquiry. 2026, the day Nancy Guthrie was declared gone after missing her usual Sunday morning worship broadcast. Federal agents joined the search nearly from the start. Abduction for profit falls under federal law, prompting a joint effort involving local police, the Bureau, Border Patrol, and specialized rescue units. By February 2nd, evidence found on site turned the search into a felony probe once signs of a struggle within the home emerged. On February 5th, Sheriff Nanos gave a briefing detailing the forensic timeline we have analyzed, including the 9:48 p.m. arrival, the garage shutting at 9:50 p.m., the smart doorbell going dark at 1:47 a.m., and movement logged at 2:12 a.m., plus the heart monitor app cutting out at 2:28 a.m. At 9:50 p.m., the garage door is lowered. That is when Nancy was presumably inside and turning in for the night. That specific sequence was announced during a major televised media briefing. News Nation's Brian Enton has frequently covered this official breakdown of forensic events, serving as the lead reporter delivering the most reliable dispatches from the scene in Tucson during this whole ordeal. Events at the Guthrie home on February 4th are likewise a matter of public record. Federal authorities and local deputies executed a search warrant at the Tucson residence of Tommaso and Annie. Police also seized a car to process for potential clues. Officers verified these steps, which were subsequently picked up by various news agencies. This raid was a routine part of the exploratory process, rather than being triggered by specific accusations against anyone, but simply to ensure all bases were covered right after Nancy went missing. Later, on February 13th, a new lead emerged in Marana. Tactical units from the sheriff's office descended upon a location in Marana, Arizona, about 21 miles outside of Tucson. A trio of people were taken into custody and grilled, though they were eventually cleared of any involvement. The group was set free without charges. Nothing led to an arrest, nor were there clues regarding Nancy's whereabouts. The sheriff went on record to confirm those facts. Following the events in Morirana, the internet went wild with theories regarding local musician Dominic Evans, who used to play in Early Black with Tommaso Cioni. These rumors gained traction because of where he lived and how much he resembled the hooded figure caught on FBI cameras, according to armchair detectives. To set the record straight, that tactical raid didn't actually happen at the home of Dominic Evans. Not a single police department ever labeled him as someone they were targeting. In a late February 25th piece for The Times, 2026, Evans made it clear he had zero to do with the missing person case. He mentioned a 40-minute chat with detectives about 7 days after the disappearance, focusing mostly on his old music group and his ties to Tommaso, but they haven't contacted him since that one meeting. The most definitive word on who's who in this mystery came from Sheriff Nanos on February 16, 2026. His press release noted, "Just to be perfectly honest, everyone in the Guthrie household, from the kids to the in-laws, is no longer under suspicion for what happened. They've been incredibly helpful through this tragedy and are seen as victims here." That was a pretty final declaration. As for Tommaso Cioni, his marriage to Annie puts him in that cleared group. officially removing him from the suspect list as of mid-February 2026. He didn't hold anything back from the cops and even aced a lie detector test. No charges were filed, he was never a person of interest, and his name was fully scrubbed. That's the final word from the authorities. It's a permanent status, not some temporary thing. At this point, we have to talk about Nanos himself, because everyone following this knows. There's been a ton of drama and growing heat surrounding the way he's running the show. This messy situation is completely tied to whether people actually trust that the police are doing a thorough job. According to reports, Nanos played fast and loose with the truth on his official work bio, claiming he was with the El Paso force until 1984, though paperwork says he actually bailed in 1982. He was basically forced out after getting in trouble for being way too rough with people on the job. During a legal interview in late 2025, Nanos swore he had a clean record with no time off for disciplinary reasons. The sheriff's office eventually admitted his resume was wrong, but blamed it on simple typing mistakes. Someone named Daniel Boutier filed to have him removed on March 12, 2026, pointing to both the botched search and those lies about his past. The ex-chief deputy, Richard Carmona, didn't hold back when he blamed Nanos for ruining the evidence by letting people back onto the scene way too early. You've got a missing elderly person and a sheriff who's completely off the rails. Even the union representing his own deputies voted unanimously against him, demanding he step down because of how badly he manages things and how he punishes those who disagree. Just recently, on April 7, 2026, local officials all agreed that Nanos has to come clean under oath about his background and behavior, with the threat that he'll be fired if he doesn't talk within 10 days. The whole messy truth of this argument is out there for everyone to see. Specialist Cheryl McCollum told the press that despite Nanos making errors, the detectives require more time to operate, provided that the only link between the suspect and Nancy happened when she vanished. Constructing that prosecution takes way longer than 45 days. Such a viewpoint exists, alongside the heavy systemic scrutiny currently weighing down on his department, missing from the open files and ignored in every local sheriff briefing or federal update. And any talk by Nanos is a straight answer on whether monetary trails involved were scrutinized through a deep fiscal audit. Authorities have yet to verify if court filings submitted by nearby parties fell under the detective's radar. Spokespeople have completely bypassed the paperwork brought to light by Matt Black Inc. This void, separating what locals uncovered from the formal responses, is clearly visible and stays unresolved. We must clarify exactly what digital sleuths are seeking, since accuracy is vital for both law and media. People aren't suggesting that a specific file validates someone's guilt in this matter. Any credible agent, amateur or veteran, knows this inquiry focuses on protocol regarding an abduction demanding $6 million in Bitcoin. Extortion reflecting an intimate grasp of the relative's personal assets. Did the police perform a money trail analysis, which would involve checking recorded judicial papers tied to folks around this probe? Plus, was that specific file found by Matt Black Inc. part of that scan? That's the real issue. It stands as a fair point by any metric of police diligence. Basic detective procedure for cases involving extortion. This isn't guessing, it's the proven federal guidelines in action. It incorporates fiscal analysis. If money drives the crime, agents look at statements, bank ledgers, real estate deeds, policy documents, and court filings impacting the wealth or holdings of anyone near the target circle. Doing so isn't high-level sleuthing, it's fundamental. The feds employ specialized money trackers. Their digital coin tracking tools have found and retrieved Bitcoin in major past crimes. Since this payout was sought in crypto, the fiscal wing of the hunt isn't just a side project. It's vital for putting together a trial-ready file. Which judicial papers belong inside that search area? Any authorization of agent rights over the assets or land of someone linked to this family, recorded just before the snatching with a permanent status that remains valid during a medical crisis, would normally be a tool that detectives look into, not since it validates a crime, but because it's a file governing wealth and estate control found in open archives which links to people within the probe's circle, especially when submitted during the specific time frame. Money trail experts typically hunt for patterns when mapping out the timeline leading up to a major felony. The internet crowd identified a specific pattern that ties the money trail to the puzzle of this legal file. The masked figure, seen on the FBI video evidence, didn't look like a rookie pulling off a random robbery. The entry, the way they messed with the porch camera at that exact moment, the calculated way they disabled the alarm, the doors left unlatched, that $6 million ransom, a figure that screams insider info rather than a wild guess. Combined, these signs point to a professional hit by someone familiar with this exact residence, the family's total net worth, and the home's security layout. Former FBI profilers and web sleuths have heard this from many specialists over these 67 days. Consistently note that the exact math in the ransom note is the biggest red flag that the killer knew the victim's world. You don't demand $6 million in Bitcoin without having the inside scoop on this family. You cannot be that accurate without seeing their private bank statements, their properties, and their actual ability to pay out a sum of that size. That is the logic the online sleuths are using regarding the file Matt Black Incorporated uncovered. It's not a smoking gun, but in an investigation revolving around such a specific dollar amount, every legal or financial contract involving the family right before the abduction is precisely what any serious forensic auditor would want to see. And the public wants to know if it actually was. That's a fair point. It follows standard police protocol and hasn't been addressed by the authorities yet. We've already covered the file's contents. We broke down the legal weight of a power of attorney and mapped out how the money side of this works. We compared what the cops have said with the gaps still left in the public record. We've been very specific about the community's concerns. It's about the process, not about accusations. It's about ensuring the investigation was thorough. Now we have to talk about the date, because that's why this paper keeps popping up in investigator circles with such high intensity. That's why it stays a hot topic on forums even when other theories have fizzled out. It isn't just about the legal language, it's about when it was signed. You can file a power of attorney anytime. Usually, people sign these during a property sale or before going on a long trip, or while organizing their will, or dealing with medical issues that might keep them from handling their own business later. These are all perfectly normal reasons. The file itself has no hidden agenda. Papers don't have agendas. People do. But for detectives, timing is a key indicator used to judge the weight of legal records in a case. Not because it proves guilt, but because it places the document on a specific timeline. Detectives use chronologies to map the string of incidents leading up to a felony, including when official paperwork gets logged, the moment a bank transfer finishes, or when real estate shifts ownership. A calendar is essentially the financial ledger of a case. That specific window of time is exactly what caught the internet's eye. Nancy Guthrie officially vanished on February 1, 2026, though she was last seen at home around 9:50 p.m. on January 31st. Her garage door shut right after getting home from a family meal. A figure in a mask popped up on her porch camera at 1:47 a.m. on February 1st. The file has remained active since that daybreak. Backtrack from February 1st, 2026. The record, highlighted by Matt Black, Inc., was authorized on May 16, 2025. From May 16, 2025 to February 1, 2026 spans 8 months and 16 days. Not some vague while ago or nearly a year. Exactly 8 months and 16 days. That is the interval between drafting a particular durable power of attorney, where a specific individual appoints a chosen representative to handle certain money and estate decisions, creating a permanent status that lasts even if the person becomes incapacitated. And the night Nancy Guthrie went missing from her Catalina Foothills residence, 8 months and 16 days. People online aren't claiming this schedule is a smoking gun. They are simply highlighting facts with total precision, in a way no authority has yet clarified. That a legal mandate concerning the assets of someone in that house was signed 8 months and 16 days before Nancy Guthrie was snatched, especially in a situation where the kidnapper's demands show they know the family's exact net worth. In a scenario where Federal Bureau of Investigation rules for money-driven abductions require deep dives into accounting, and where the police themselves admit this was a focused strike. The public has a single query. Did any detective actually look into this specific file, its scope, and what it was supposed to achieve? We have no answer yet. No local sheriff's briefing has touched it. No federal agency report has mentioned it. No lawyer for the people involved has given a public comment. No big news outlet has chased this to a firm conclusion. It is an official paper found in the public archives. Its name and dates link it to a massive kidnapping mystery in recent United States history. Yet, as of this broadcast, it stays completely unaddressed. Fairness requires looking at this objectively. There is a very routine, lawful justification for the file that Matt Black Incorporated uncovered, and it needs to be explained because we aren't just telling one side here. Filing a specific durable power of attorney for a home sale is actually quite common. The housing market uses them all the time. Whenever a person involved in a land deal, a home loan signing, or a title handover cannot show up in person, they can sign a specialized power of attorney so a partner or close friend can act as their proxy for the signatures. Closing attorneys do this on a daily basis. Arizona handles thousands of these documents for standard home sales every single year. Several internet sources. Folks tracking the investigation with experience in property law or realty have highlighted this very issue. A person from the group put it simply. He designated Annie to represent him strictly for that specific piece of land. Such arrangements happen constantly during house sales and similar deals. This unique label also acts as a boundary, as we previously noted. Essentially, the power given isn't broad or forever. It is locked to the details written on the page. Should this paperwork have been created for one particular building deal, one signing, or one contract, then the permitted power is inherently restricted. It prevents the representative from controlling every aspect of someone's money. Attorneys weighing in on the record since the file surfaced keep emphasizing this fact. Nobody has confirmed the file is authentic. The paperwork might just be standard procedure. A bridge between this page and the police probe hasn't been proven. Authorities claim there is no clear tie between that legal form and the abduction case. Plus, consider the biggest takeaway here, which doesn't actually negate what the public is asking. It comes down to the formal police logs. During February 16, 2026, Sheriff Chris Nanos openly exonerated the whole Guthrie clan, removing every brother, sister, and partner from the list of potential culprits. Tommaso Cioni, the main party on that specific form, was formally struck from the suspect list by local police then. He was totally helpful with detectives and even aced a lie detector test. No charges were filed, he was never a person of interest, and his name was washed clean. Being exonerated does not suddenly become temporary just because some file leaked online. A formal police report remains the final word. Our show follows that rule every single time. The public is not demanding we reconsider if someone is guilty or innocent. It is more about how far the probe went, especially since money plays such a huge role. Where a $6 million Bitcoin ransom shows the kidnapper knew them well, and where federal money tracking experts have already been brought in, coupled with a legal contract regarding a relative's assets and real estate turning up in the open archives. People just want to know if that specific deal was ever audited, if it was looked at closely, and if whatever they found changed the way they hunted for the truth. That is a valid thing to ask. It is a reasonable point that still has not been addressed as of today. 67 days since Nancy Guthrie vanished, and the purpose of this file is still a mystery. Not a single person has verified that detectives even glanced at it. Big-name reporters have not tracked this lead down to the end. The internet sleuths are doing exactly what they typically do here. They are scouring public files and bringing up the obvious gaps those files reveal. If police decide to talk about it openly, that is totally out of our hands. Our job is simply to record that the issue is real and based on hard evidence. It draws from a legitimate legal filing recorded on a verified day, stored in the official archives, and it currently stands without a response. 67 days have passed since Nancy Guthrie vanished. She is 84. Her survival depends on taking medicine daily. She lives with a pacemaker, and Savannah, Annie, and Cameron, her family, won't stop pleading for help to get her back. You can still reach the FBI tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Reports may also be sent straight to tips.fbi.gov. Contact the Puma County Sheriff's Office at 520-35149. Anyone with information regarding the events of January 31st through the dawn of February 1st, or that night on January 11th, a date her family considers vital. The FBI is waiting for your call. Her relatives have made it clear that even the tiniest lead matters. To those following this investigation since our very first video, catching every single new development and analyzing every fact with us, our next segment dives into the money trail discovered by digital sleuths beyond that legal document. The official files hold even more secrets. Hit subscribe and ring the bell. This is a must-watch. Nancy Guthrie remains gone after 67 days. We won't give up. This film was created strictly to inform and educate the public. Every fact shared comes from open access materials, confirmed news stories, police briefings, and credited social media activity. That specific legal authorization mentioned in today's show was first highlighted by the Matt Black account. Incorporated on X, though Puma County Sheriff's deputies haven't formally confirmed its authenticity, nor has the FBI or any judicial body. We are showing it as a non-validated file pulled from the web. Come February 16th, 2026, Sheriff Chris Nanos of Puma County fully exonerated Nancy's entire family, spouses and siblings alike, from any suspicion in her vanishing. Police have never classified Dominic Evans as a suspect or a person of interest. In a February 25, 2026 New York Times piece, Evans openly dismissed any link to the case. This footage makes no allegations against Tommaso Cioni, Annie Guthrie, Dominic Evans, or anyone else we have mentioned. Our team does not claim that these records prove any person's guilt, legal liability, or criminal motives. Everyone named in this story is considered innocent until a jury says otherwise. We are only posing questions regarding the investigation and official procedures. Nancy Guthrie is still out there. As the investigation stands today, the truth remains just out of reach, close enough to feel, yet still hidden in the shadows. Each new lead brings a surge of hope, only to leave behind more questions than answers. For those following this case, the silence is deafening, the uncertainty unbearable. And yet, the search continues, driven by determination, by the need for justice, and by the belief that the truth will come to light. Until that moment arrives, one haunting question lingers. How much longer can the truth stay buried? If you know something, reach the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or their website, or call the Puma County Sheriff's Department at 520-35149.